Hello to those who are already on the event tonight, and we'll be starting in about 15 minutes. Myself and Liza are just getting ourselves all set up, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Liza, are you online at the moment?
I am. Hello.
Hello, just putting you on screen. So we've got one other person in the room at the moment. We're just waiting for hopefully another 30 or so people. How have you been, Liza?
I've been all right. It's already been a bit of a year, but I say that and we're nearly halfway through.
I know it's going really quickly, isn't it? Have you done anything really exciting with calendar customs this year, Liza?
I have to say, unfortunately, no,
No.
because I've been busy writing my new book. So that has taken up most of my time, but I've been developing new rituals, mostly around writing, which are get up first thing in the morning, pretend to write. I'd say probably about until 2:30 in the afternoon. Then have a massive panic attack and eat lots of crisps, and then start writing around about 7 o'clock in the evening. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I can empathise. Yeah, as someone who's doing my doctorate right now, that's pretty much how I work. But instead of 7 p.m., it's like 10 p.m. maybe that you start doing some writing. You know?
I've sort of decided that I'm actually much better writing in the evening, and I don't know why. I think that if I get up at 8:30 or get to my desk at 8:30, anything is actually going to be productive until 7 o'clock the evening.
I
But
really, you just have to work through it, don't you? There's nothing else you can do.
there's nothing. um, yes. So well, have I done anything ritual year? I'm just trying to think. No, I didn't. I even missed out on the pancakes this year. Usually, I'm a big devotee of stuffing as many pancakes down my gob as I possibly can, and I even forgot that. I think I did eat some chocolate at Christmas, Easter rather. Because obviously that is the spirit of Easter. As much chocolate as you can possibly have. But no, I seem to have abandoned the ritual year slightly.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it, when you've got a busy life? Thank you to the people who are just joining us. We're going to get started in about 13 minutes. We're just having a chat while we wait. I hope that's all right with everybody. Um, yeah, I've not done a lot this year either because of working my doctorate and obviously working at the museum. It's quite full on. Didn't even make it to Chippenham Folk Festival this year for the annual stick and bucket competition, which I was gutted about, but which I highly recommend going to, Liza, if you've not been to that one.
I'm well up for it. Will you come with?
Yeah, of course I will. Next year.
Excellent. That is an absolute date. So what's happening at the museum at the moment then?
Absolutely tons of folk stuff because I will plug this later on for those of you who are just joining us. Once we get started on the actual talk, we've got the Uncommon People Folk Culture in Wessex exhibition on at the moment, which is really, really exciting. And we've got an absolute ton of folk events on. And it's fabulous to have you here with us, Liza. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Seems a long time since we were doing the MA folklore studies together now, doesn't it?
It really does. So that was 2019 we started?
Yeah,
And
it's a long time ago.
and you did your super quick in a year, and I think I took 5 years because COVID and books and all sorts of things kept getting in the way. So yes, I was always very impressed with how you always do things with folklore. So yes.
Very exciting. It's nice because obviously we're a museum that mostly focuses on archaeological collections to actually do something a bit more folky. So it's been very, very exciting. I hope you'll come up and visit the exhibition at some point, Liza.
Oh, I would absolutely love to. Absolutely
Really
love
nice.
to. Now that book is out the way and other writing stuff has calmed down, I'm absolutely going to start going around the country and seeing folky stuff again because I've really missed doing that. I went through a whole spate of sort of going to various different things and not just for the project, but just for generally stuff. And I've just been chained to a desk for far too long, and I want to get out there and see things and meet people and watch and just immerse myself because there's so much good stuff going on.
Absolutely.
I just never get a chance to kind of do it at the moment. So
We're just getting a few more people creeping on at the moment. We're about 10 minutes off starting, everybody. So we're just nattering in the meantime. Yeah. Got any plans for solstice, Liza?
no. But I should do really, shouldn't I? Yes, I have absolutely no, but I live near the Sussex Downs, so there's got to be something going on in the Sussex Downs.
I'd
So
imagine so.
I'll probably find a rogue bonfire somewhere and sit there toasting a marshmallow and or jumping over the bonfire or throwing things into the bonfire to do a bit of divination, all sorts of things. But yes, what about you? Are you going to?
Not sure yet. Obviously, I'm spoilt for choice where we are in Devizes because we've got Avebury and Stonehenge and some fantastic little sites like Old Canning's Long Barrow as well. So I'm really spoilt for choice about what I do. Not sure yet. We'll see. It gets very busy around here.
Yeah, I
So
can
you can imagine.
Yeah. Mm. Yes.
Very, very busy.
Oh,
Liza, do you want to get your PowerPoint up so it's ready when we start in 10 minutes time? Is that okay?
that's absolutely fine. And I'm still very happy to chat with it up. So let me just see if I can make this work. And you can tell me if it's worked or not. Yeah, is that up?
That looks great. Hopefully everyone else in the room can see. If there are any technical issues throughout today, just pop it in the Q&A because we can't see, we don't have a chat function on this one today. If you shout in the Q&A, one of us will pick it up as soon as that comes through. I'm very excited for this talk, Liza.
Well, you did kind of live part of the year with me when we were at university, because I remember various times where I was making you do things that would correspond with a certain day or a certain type of certain month or season. So it's like we've sort of come full circle, which is very ritual year coded.
Are you going to mention our shots of pickle juice and dancing on buses at some point during this talk, Liza?
I I wasn't, but we can talk about it now. So on the very first day of the project that I did, where I'll go into a bit more detail later, but I asked Claire and several other of our classmates whether or not they would get drunk for me and feedback on various hangover cures. And Claire had two brilliant ones. She had drinking pickle juice, and then she had to put a whole load of pins in the cork of the bottle of the drink that she'd been drinking as sort of a way to counteract the evil of the hangover. And I think from memory, the pickle juice sort of came a bit close, but I think that's more to do with the electrolytes.
Yeah, I think it was more to the shock to the system of shotting some pickle juice than anything like that. So.
But I don't think the cork one did you any good. I have
no help whatsoever, I'm afraid, as a lot of folk cures often are, right? People still trickling in. For those of you joining us, we've got about 7 minutes until we get started. We won't be very long now. We're waiting on about 20 more people. So we've got a good turnout for you today, Liza, which is really exciting.
That is that I think it's amazing that people are coming on a Monday evening. I think that's lovely.
I'm very grateful for you giving your Monday evening. So.
Especially as where I am, it's very, very sunny and the sky is blue, and it's sort of the perfect day for going for a walk. So yeah, it's lovely that people are coming to talks like this by Wiltshire Museum. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's lovely here in Devizes as well. Absolutely gorgeous. So perfect weather for a walk. So we're very grateful that people are taking the time to come and spend the evening with us instead. Especially now we're not forced to, because we can all go outside, rather than when I started doing online talks, which was very much we're all stuck inside and have nothing better to do. So yeah.
Oh gosh, yes. I talk about the COVID and lockdown quite a bit during the talk, but it did sort of force me to get creative, and I really appreciate. I know it sounds a weird thing to say, but that's about the only thing I did appreciate about the lockdown. But it did force me to get really, really creative with doing folklore every day, because I was relying on everybody else doing it for me. Yeah, so. But I don't. Otherwise, I don't miss it. I think that's the only thing I miss about it. But,
For those of you just joining us, we've got about 5 minutes left. We're just nattering before we get started, but we won't be very long now. Just thinking about COVID, Liza, and the things we had to do as folklorists. I was doing a project on bathroom graffiti just as lockdown hit, and I couldn't get to any bathrooms, which was a major issue when you've got field work to do. So.
Oh goodness, I'd completely forgotten that. Oh, how did you manage then?
I had to get people to send me pictures of their bathroom graffiti that they'd gathered over the years, which was probably not the best methodology on the world, but the best you could do when desperate times, right? So
I think that's ingenious. I think that's folklore just doesn't stop because of a pandemic. It just, it just converts itself into something new and something different.
Absolutely.
So, oh goodness, I'm trying to remember what I was doing when. Oh no, I was doing something on my local park, I think, and so that was good because I could take my walk around the local park and try and get some inspiration for it. I can't remember at all what I was doing. I was doing something, or maybe I was doing the dissertation on the dark. I can't remember, but yeah, it's funny
Long
days.
time ago now.
Yes, long time, a very long time ago. It's 6 years ago since we started that MA.
It is. For those of you who've joined us, I think we've got 13 people in the room at the moment. Myself and Liza were on an MA in folklore studies together a few years ago, which is how we set this lovely talk up for this evening, which will get started in about 4 minutes. So won't be long now.
And if anybody's interested in looking at a more academic side of folklore, I cannot recommend that MA more. It's at University of Hertfordshire. It's absolutely fantastic. Just really set me up for a lot of things. Although I was doing some things before the MA, it really gave me an opportunity to really explore what folklore meant, and not just sort of like the stuff that most people think about is folklore, the supernatural stuff, but how folklore affects us as people every single day. So if anybody is up for doing a master's, do get in touch, because it's with the university, because I think it's an amazing course, and I think anybody that's interested in folklore would really, really benefit from taking it.
Yeah, I think folklore's really having a moment at the moment, isn't it? Seeming that it's 1970s was the last course before the one we were on.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the University of Sheffield have got potentially something going on as well.
Amazing.
Loads of exhibitions, zines, magazines, all sorts going on at the moment. So it's a really exciting time to be in folklore, I think.
And isn't there sort of a folklore survey of England going on at the moment as well?
That's right. I think that's run by the Centre for Contemporary Legend up at the University of Sheffield, is that one.
Yeah.
So National Folklore Survey will be coming soon to those of you in the audience. We have 3 minutes, 19 people in the room, which is fantastic for a Monday evening talk. And we'll get started very, very soon.
Excuse me. So what's been your favourite folklore bit in the museum since you started there?
Oh, in terms of objects, it's got to be the rat snake skeleton that's currently on display in our Uncommon People exhibition, which was a concealed object, and we do have a talk on concealed objects coming in August.
Oh.
But it's the skeleton of a snake that's had its head taken off, and the head of a rat put onto it, and then concealed in a wall somewhere, which I think is just absolutely fascinating. And it's the kind of stuff that never comes out into the museum usually. So it's been a really nice opportunity to have some extra stories come through.
That. Oh, yeah. I wish I'd seen that.
You will when you come up, Liza, eventually. I'll be sure to show you that one. But it's just been nice to look at our collections through a different lens as well. So it's been really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, rat and snake. Oh, I like that.
This is your 2-minute warning, folks. We'll get started very, very shortly. Yeah, I mean, we've got tons of concealed shoes and things, Liza, but the rat snake's quite special, I think.
Wish I'd known about the rat snake. I wrote a tiny, wee tiny bit about concealed objects in the new book. And I didn't know about a rat snake. I should have written about that. It's too late now.
Next book, Liza, next book.
So. Next book. All right, it'll just be called The Rat Snake, and it'll be an entire book on snakes that turn into rats. I quite like that. I could do something fictional with that one.
We've got 21 people in the audience at the moment. We're going to start in just 1 minute, folks, so we won't be very long at all now.
I'm just going to have a massive cough. Excuse me. Sorry, that was very nice for anyone listening.
It's always the way just before a talk, isn't it?
Well, I had my lucky banana. So this was a tradition handed down to me by the DJ OJ Borge, who's on BBC Radio 2. And I asked him if he had any traditions before going on air to sort of prepare himself for broadcast. And he said that he always ate a banana because a banana clears away all the clag in your throat, so that he had a clear speaking voice for when he was going on air.
That's fantastic.
It is. I'm not entirely sure it's worked, but
worth a try. Right, we have 23 wonderful folks in the audience, and it is now 7:30, so I think we will get started. So my name's Claire. I am from Wiltshire Museum. I'm the engagement officer working on the Sizes for Devices project. I'm also the resident folklorist, which is why you've got me here today instead of David. Now, today I am joined by the fantastic Liza Frank, who has had an absolutely fascinating experience in life, careers. Have you been in photography, films, theatre, all sorts, haven't you, Liza?
Yes.
But most importantly, in the last few years, has been working on a fantastic project called the Everyday Law Project, which I'm sure Liza will be talking about soon, and has a new book coming out as well very shortly. So very exciting. I'm going to hand over to Liza, who's going to do this presentation. Now, I'm going to hide Liza's face from you all, I'm afraid, because we've got some technical issues that we are dealing with, but you should be able to see the presentation. And if people, as we're talking, would like to pop questions into the Q&A boxes, it can be a slight delay on those, so it can take 15-20 seconds to come through to us, but right at the end we will do a bit of a Q&A session as well. Liza, I think you're talking for about 50 minutes today, is it?
Something like that, yes, depending on whether or not I go really fast.
Perfect. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Liza.
Hello, thank you for coming. It's just really kind of you to spend your Monday evening with us. As Claire said, I'm Liza Frank, and I'm a folklorist and a writer. I got into ritual year folklore due to a conversation over a dinner table. My friend dared me to spend an entire year living by the rules of folklore. And as I'm a sucker for a dare, I did. The Everyday Law Project was born, and for 12 months I researched and experienced the ritual year folklore of the day, date, month or season before writing it up every night in my blog. Now, unfortunately, the year didn't quite go as expected, as it was 2020 to 2021. I had great visions of travelling up and down the country, reporting on everyone else doing the folklore, but instead it was foggy on the 25th of January, and according to the folklore, if it's foggy on the 25th of January, that means pestilence is on the way, and as we all know, so it proved true. However, I was already 2 and a bit months into the project when lockdown came, and I didn't want to lose what I'd started, so I shifted to recreating the ritual year in my house and surroundings. And if you're interested, you can still read my day-by-day account on my website, and I'll put up all the details at the end. So this talk is about how to survive the ritual year, both from my personal experiences and from research and observation. But, you know, having said that, the fact that you're all here listening to this talk shows you've already managed to survive it so far. So maybe look on this talk as an enhancement to your ritual year. And also, apologies in advance. There's quite a lot to say about it, and I will be throwing lots of dates at you. However, if I've timed it all right, there should be at the time end for questions, as Claire said. Plus, I did write this handy little guide should you need further information after this talk. So plug over the ins and outs of ritual years. Now, the first thing I need to establish is what I mean when I say ritual year. The simple answer is the ritual year comprises of the rules, rituals, customs and traditions we repeatedly follow on the same date each year or at approximately the same time, depending on the season or what the moon is up to. However, there is no one ritual year. Every country has a ritual year. Every region has one. Every family has one. I say this a lot, and I can't remember who said it first, but I nabbed it. Folklore is like a dialect. It changes from place to place to suit the needs of the people using it. So in terms of the ritual year, what might be a high time in Scotland, for example, this is Up Heliar, which happens at the end of January. It's an amazing fire festival in Shetland. As you can see, there are Vikings, there are huge Viking boats being set on fire, there are axes, there are men in horns and skirts, and, you know, it's a big, big hoolie. And this would probably get lost in translation in the gentle undulations of the Surrey Hills. Now, ritual years are influenced by many factors, including but not limited to the calendar, religion, the moon, the seasons, and what we bring to it personally. So let's just break this down a little bit further. The calendar. But which calendar? So, for example, in this country, we've had two main calendars since 43 BCE, the Julian and Gregorian. The first named after Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, and the second Pope Gregory XIII. When we swapped from the Julian to Gregorian in 1752, we lost 11 days due to calculations concerning the Earth travelling around the Sun and the adoption of leap years. Now, this gave rise to old days and new days in our ritual year. Now, some people continue to celebrate the old day dates, others adopted the new, while some celebrated both. For example, there is often argument, and I use the term often a little bit loosely about this, there is often argument over the traditional start of the oyster season. Is it plain St. James's Day on the 25th of July or Old St. James's Day on the 5th of August? Now, religion. While the Gregorian calendar is predicated on the Christian religion, other faiths may have their own rhythm and celebrations that inform their ritual year. Not to mention various occasions when one belief system's calendar has used celebration days of another belief system's calendar to establish dominance. For example, Saturnalia, the Roman winter festival, morphed into Christmas, and the Christian calendar also then went on to bag Lupercalia and turning that into St. Valentine's Day. The moon. So there are a lot of religions and some countries that rely on the moon to set their celebrations. For example, Chinese New Year or Spring Festival is calculated by the date of the Lunar New Year, which falls at some point between 21st of January and 20th of February. The Islamic New Year, Arabic or Hijri New Year, is calculated by the phases of the moon and falls on the first day of Muharram, the first of the 4 sacred months in the Islamic calendar, while Rosh Hashanah or Jewish New Year falls somewhere between early September and early October and is based on when the new moon comes. The seasons. Now, as you might imagine, the northern and southern hemispheres has opposite seasons, and opposite seasons and climate could give rise to different folklore happening on the same date. And then what we bring to it personally. Now, this is a really interesting one. So when people say that they don't do folklore, what they're really saying is that they don't recognise what they're doing is part of folklore. Everyone has their own personal ritual year, all the anniversaries, all the birthdays, book club every other Monday, fish and chips on a Friday night, park run on a Saturday morning. All these repetitive actions or traditions influence the rhythms and structures of our personal ritual years. But that's not all. Ritual years can be divided up or observed in many different ways. Again, as seasons, the ancient Egyptian civil calendar had 3 seasons, and obviously we have 4. These can be measured meteorologically, with the start of spring being 1st of March, summer on 1st of June, autumn on 1st of September, and winter on 1st of December. Or astronomically, with the spring starting at the equinox in March, summer at the solstice in June, autumn at the equinox in September, and winter at the solstice in December. There are also other days that start up the seasons, like the 1st of February in the Celtic calendar, and the rogue 22nd of February, and both are said to herald the start of spring. As months, so basing your months on the dates, by the phases of the moon, or by theming them, such as Black History Month, a month to commemorate and celebrate the history of the African diaspora, which is February in the USA and October in the UK. And there's Brocktober, which is a month-long celebration of badgers, which is also in October, and Movember, raising awareness for prostate cancer and other men's health matters throughout November by the growing of moustaches, hence the Movember, not the Nova. And then you have the zodiac. Some people like to plant according to what the zodiac is doing. For example, brassicas, so I think that's cabbages and broccoli, roses and jasmine are said to be aligned with air elements and therefore grow well in Gemini, Libra and Aquarius, while you should be looking to Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces if you want to grow a herb garden, as these come under water signs. Quarter days and cross-quarter days. Now, these divide the year up into 8ths. The quarter days being Lady Day, which is 25th of March, Midsummer Day, 24th of June, Michaelmas, 29th of September, and Christmas, 25th 25th of December. Now, traditionally, these are the days when rents and other financial obligations were paid and most people moved. The cross-quarter days, on the other hand, were marked as holidays, with these being Candlemas on the 2nd of February, May Day on the 1st of May, Lammas on the 1st of August, and All Hallows on the 1st of November. Next is the Wheel of the Year, which is a relatively new configuration from Wiccan and pagan religions, and also splits the year up into 8 parts. It's roughly the same dates as the cross-quarter days and the astronomical season dates, just with different names and a little shimmy on some of the dates. Now, while we're on the date shimmies, some dates, such as Beltane on the 1st of May and Samhain on the 1st of November in the Wheel of the Year, are often noted as being the day before, as in 30th of April and the 31st of October. This is because some people celebrate them sundown to sundown, and therefore the day spans the 2 dates. It is complicated. It's never going to get easier. Saints' days. You can't swing a cat round the ritual year without knocking into multiple saints and their days to commemorate them. And then there are the ritual years that you might not think of them as being ritual years. So, school terms. Anyone with kids knows that their year is held hostage to the education system, and anyone without kids knows when to book their holidays if they want to bag a bargain. The tax year. In the UK, 25th of March used to be the start of the financial year, which ties in with the quarter-day financial goings-on. This got bumped to the 5th of April in the calendar change, and then got bumped to the 6th of April in 1800 due to leap year shenanigans, and where it stayed ever since. From personal experience, many a Christmas and New Year has been spent trying to prepare my tax return for the 31st of January deadline. And then the annual forgetting to change my receipt collecting system, which is a bag slung over the back of the kitchen chair, on the 6th of April. And football. Now, I know nothing about football except to say whatever team you support, their games and their league will follow a set pattern of rituals each year, including the draws, the announcements, trades, fixtures, competitions, costumes, kit, food, trophies, etc. Now, the last thing I want to mention before we dive into how to survive the ritual year is, what is the point of having a ritual year? Now, there are several theories. These are just a couple. So, having regular dates within the year that encourage people to party or let loose provides an opportunity for the populace to release tension. That's helping to avoid pent-up frustration and ultimately anarchy. Examples of these points include those cross-quarter dates I've just mentioned, and dates such as New Year's Eve, Bonfire Night, and Notting Hill Carnival. If you look at the year, they're relatively evenly spaced, so there's never sort of a long time before people don't get a chance to release their tension. Ritual dates also provide moments within the year to share a tradition, and therefore it becomes a moment to come together to shore up, remind, rebuild community beliefs and or societal expectations. However, this also has the effect of outing or othering those that don't share the values of the ritual, something that newspapers such as the Daily Mail and the Telegraph use to whip up moral panics about the deterioration of our way of life, and vilifying those who choose to celebrate alternative moments throughout the year or just celebrate differently. Examples of these are Christmas, Easter, and National Cream Tea Day, which is held on the last Friday of June. And God's forbid we use margarine in our scones. But mainly, they help us remember when to do things. This is an old planting rhyme to remind you when it's best to plant your beans and peas. So peas or beans on David or Chad, whether the weather be good or bad. If they're not in by Benedict, they better stop in the rick. So David and Chad are Saint David and Saint Chad, and Benedict is Saint Benedict. So this is what I mean is, you'll find Saints' days all over the calendar next to each other and all sorts of things. So how do we survive the ritual year? Well, the too long didn't read version is that there are 3 important rules. The first rule of surviving the ritual year is obviously not to clamber into a wicker man on the 1st of May. In other words, do your research and, like a scout, be prepared. Know what you're up against and how to combat it. The second rule is to get out in nature. See what it's up to, what it can share, what clues it can give you to help you navigate the year. However, having said that, never eat or apply anything that you foraged and haven't 100% correctly identified and patch tested. You want to survive the ritual year, you don't want to cut it short. And the third rule is don't ask questions that you don't want to know the answers to, or in other words, be careful what you wish for. Rule 1, be prepared. The ritual year contains questionable moments from beginning to end, and indeed there are specific days that have been marked out in the calendar as being particularly heinous. These include, but are not unlimited to, 2nd of January. Now, according to the Anglo-Saxons, 2nd of January was the unluckiest day of the year. Such was the fear around 2nd of January that in the Middle Ages it was escalated from unlucky to extremely hazardous. May the 3rd. In Scotland, 3rd of May was known as Avoiding Day and was considered a very bad day indeed. 15th of March. Now, I'm not going to lie, this next date is almost purely included, so I can play you this, which I consider to be the best joke ever written.
It's all day, yes. Open up, I say, or must I enter? Yes? Oh, good evening. I wanted to ask, are you really a Vestal Virgin? No. No, I'm a eunuch. Oh, I see. You're a what? I'm sorry. Vestal Virgins are off tonight. Oh, my sense is deserting me. There's something funny going on here. Yes, what are you doing with your thing? I'm sorry, sir, but for the good of Rome, you must die. You're my personal bodyguard and champion gladiator. I don't want to die. I may not be a very good live emperor, but I'd be a worse one dead. Treachery! Infamy! Infamy! They've all got it in for me.
I make no apologies. That is still going to be my favourite joke, probably until I die. The Ides of March, or 15th of March, is considered by some to be unlucky, but actually it's only unlucky due to the date being associated with Julius Caesar's assassination. But association is usually a good enough reason when it comes to folklore. While sounding important, Ides were actually just middle month days in the Roman calendar, often co-opted for various celebrations. Mostly the Ides fell on the 13th, but in May, July, October, and most famously March, it's the 15th. 28th of December, Childermas. Childermas, or Holy Innocents' Day, marks the day in the Christian calendar when Herod was said to have committed democide, and so everything associated with this day was felt to be damned. Friday the 13th. Now, we usually get at least one Friday the 13th every year. In 2020, there were 2. This year, there's 1 a week next Friday, and next year there's 3. Fridays have always been considered as bad luck, not least because those who listen to gossip are said to get an extra wrinkle for every tidbit they listen to this day. 13 has also got its reputation for being unlucky, through various routes, including 13 being the number of diners at the Last Supper, or that a witch's coven is supposed to have 13 members. It's not universally thought of as unlucky, but enough that when it's paired with a Friday, everybody gets just that little bit more anxious. Then there are the less well-known days, such as perigees. So, you know those nights when the moon looks really near? That's when it's a perigee, when the moon is at its closest approach to the Earth. These were felt to be very inauspicious, and when perigees align with a full moon, creating a supermoon, doubly so. But you don't have to worry about one of those anytime soon. But just like buses, the next ones are 3 in a row on 7th of October, 5th of November, and 4th of December. Perilous days are also attached to lunar cycles, although some sources say solar, with each month having 2 days that are terribly bad luck and 6 extra days that are positively disastrous. These 6 being 3rd of January, 30th of April, 1st of July, 1st of August, 2nd of October, and 31st of December. For example, should you eat goose on any of the last 3 of those days, within 40 days, it's said you'll be dead. Egyptian or dismal days. Now, these are fixed days in the month that were deemed unlucky in the Middle Ages. What sets Egyptian or dismal days apart is that some bright spark calculated to the exact hour which was to be the most unluckiest during the day. Parisian days. These are 32 days of the year, which are also fixed and also very unlucky. Now, excuse me, note that many sources conflate perilous Egyptian and Parisian days or give different numbers or dates for them. So one source has 45 perilous days as opposed to the 30 that I mentioned, with June having 3 dates, the 4th, the 10th, and the 16th. So with the 4th being this Wednesday, and the 10th and the 16th corresponding with the Egyptian days. So you'll also have to watch out on the 10th and the 16th at 6 o'clock and 4 o'clock respectively, because it's going to be a double whammy. But unfortunately, I don't know whether or not it's 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the AM or the PM. And according to my source, you should probably avoid having sex during all of these days, regardless of the timing. 14th of May. Whatever day the 14th of May falls on will be unlucky for the rest of the year. This year, that was Wednesday. So again, watch out for this Wednesday with the double whammy of perilous, Egyptian, unlucky. It all sort of melds into one. It's no wonder people can conflate. Sailors. So sailors have fixed day in the calendars that they distrust, citing that the sea suffers extreme changes on these days, making it unsafe and impossible to sail. Most sailors also agree that Fridays are really bad days. Not to be outdone, farmers have blind days. Now, these are the first 3 days in March, and it's said that no farmer will sow their seed then, which incidentally does sort of clash with David and Chad, who I mentioned earlier on. But there you go. Usually for these types of days, in order to keep yourself safe, all you need to do is not begin something new, like taking a journey, making a business deal, getting married, starting your period, or a course of leeches, or starting life in general by being born. Or in the case of avoiding day, you should also be avoiding counting farm animals, and Childermas, you shouldn't cut your nails, ring a bell, or do your laundry. Although perversely, given the notoriety of the day, the folklore suggests that beating children is thoroughly encouraged. But please don't do that. Of course, if you have to start something, if it's absolutely unavoidable, you may want to load yourself up with some good luck charms, such as sporting a sprig of larch, crossing your fingers, wearing a ring on your thumb, wearing a thimble on your thumb, but only when outside, and donning a set of red underpants. Never underestimate the power of a good pair of lucky underpants. And before anyone else asks, yes, I am. Unlucky days are not the only points in the year that you should do a little bit of preparation for, especially if you're up for a bit of ritual competition. Take, for example, a couple of weeks ago. On the last bank holiday Monday in May, it's traditional that all hell breaks loose on Cooper's Hill in Gloucestershire due to an £8 circular double Gloucester. Cheese rolling has been recorded on Cooper's Hill since 1826, although the tradition is thought to be several centuries older and is linked to both fertility and land rights. This year, there were 7 races on the 200-yard course, some up, some down. However, as you'll see from the short video, those 200 yards are pretty much vertical and pretty much brutal. Now, apologies, the sound isn't great, so you may have to turn up your volume.
That's good. Honestly, when you start going, I got that seconds on. And that's what's amazing. You've got the steamed green cheese and let's look here. So this is mint green and steamed green. Basically, it's blessed with bacon. Oh, it looks so great for anything. That's the trident. It's just trying to hold your own head and go all the way down sideways. Is Abby going to make it down in front of her? It's going to be very close. The winner is the mustard trousers, who went down all the way, holding her own head. I obviously I just don't remember it, just blanked it. For me, it could be the land of America for me. It's not a competition. I want to be a first time I was going to San Funny. Yeah. So if you're going to get involved with this slice of the ritual year, do be aware that concussion and broken limbs are not outside the realms of possibility, and some training may be in order. So see also Robert Dover's Olympic Games, aka the Cotswold Olympics, which takes place in May, where shin kicking is all the rage. Then you have caber tossing and competitive haggis eating at one of the many Highland Games held in Scotland over the summer, and the Great Knaresborough bed race, where a team of seven, 6 to push, 1 to stay on the bed, will need to steer a custom made bed around a 2.4 mile course of cobbled streets, hills, and a gorge, with the final push swimming through the River Nid to get to the finish line. Excuse me. You would also do well to prepare in advance for certain days if you want to protect yourself from witches and fairies. On this occasion, Beltane on 30th of April starts at sundown. It's one of those moments in the year when it's said that our world and the worlds of the supernatural get uncomfortably close and all sorts of things can leak through. In this instance, fairies and witches are said to play merry havoc on both Beltane and the next day, 1st of May or May Day. And in order to come through unscathed, you're going to need to get floral, and you'll need to go scouting for yellow flowers. While it may be a coincidence that many of the flowers suggested to ward off fairies and witches this night, so marsh marigolds, buttercup, gorse, evening primrose, etc., happen to be yellow, it does kind of tie into the theory that fairies find yellow to be their least favourite colour, making them doubly potent when it comes to being apotropaic armour. So if you want to protect yourself and your household from otherworldly interference before sundown on the 30th of April, the advice includes throwing bunches of gorse onto your roof, although some say that fairies and witches are quite keen on gorse today, irrespective of the colour, strewing buttercups and evening primrose along your windowsills, and making garlands out of marsh marigolds or crown imperials, were not yellow but still effective, to hang on your doorposts. Then on the following day, you would also do well to prolong the protection by bringing sycamore across your threshold, burning rowan wood in your hearth, thus rendering the first smoke out of your chimney unusable by any nearby witches, and hanging blossoming hawthorn above your lintel. Although some believe it's fearsome bad luck to bring hawthorn into the house, so best check before you do so. Excuse me. Other dates where fairies and witches collide include 25th of March or Lady Day, when it's said to be a good moment to go and see fairies. If you decide to go and look for them, look for fairy haunts such as a clump of wild thyme or a fuchsia bush, but always remember to stock your pockets with iron keys and oat cakes and wear a daisy chain to decrease the risk of becoming captured. In Scotland, Old Lammas Eve on 11th of August is said to be the day to refresh your wards against witchcraft, fairies, zombies, and other supernatural botherers using a cross of rowan. For this charm, you will need to prepare with some secateurs, a length of red thread, and have an escape route out of the house, as the harvesting of the rowan to make the cross using the red thread will need to be done in secret and in silence. Note that rowan in general is a marvellous way to avert supernatural bad intent, and if possible, you should plant one by your front door. And then finally, on the 12th of December, St. Lucy's Eve, you must remember to have some supper, because if you go to bed with a rumbling tummy, you're just going to be witch bait for any that are passing by. And apparently there are going to be lots passing by on this night. Rule 2, be at one with nature. The ritual year is very good at giving us clues as to what is supposed to be happening at any given time. So my best advice is to keep your eyes and ears open and grab every advantage you can. While some people know the 2nd of February as Groundhog Day, named after Pennsylvanian Punxsutawney Phil,
the gobbler's knob groundhog, who likes to give his predictions on whether winter is to continue for another 6 weeks, there are actually many more animals who like to show us what the weather is going to be like, causing an alternative name, Animal Oracle Day, for this day. In the US, there's a full-on tradition of co-opting various animals to tell us if we're packing away our jumpers or our overcoats. Fellow Pennsylvanian groundhogs include Octorara offi. Octorara offi is indeed exactly what he looks like, dead and stuffed, but apparently he still comes out to see his shadow. Then there's Grover the groundhog and Sweet Arrow Sue, who are also both dead and stuffed and who are married, and from this picture seem to enjoy American football as well. Slightly worrying. And then there's Patty Pagoda. Patty Pagoda is a human playing dress up, but despite this, she lives in a burrow on Mount Penn next to the Reading Pagoda, hence her name. And apparently she is also very opposed to anybody who litters. Then there's General Beauregard Lee, a groundhog in Lilburn, Georgia, who lives in a mansion known as Weathering Heights. Scramble the Peking duck from Connecticut, who is said to be very well educated. Bee Cave Bob, the Texan armadillo, who's rather political, and Lucy the Atlantic lobster, who is actually Canadian and who once caught the eye of Bill Murray of the film Groundhog Day fame. And there are many, many more. Over in the UK, we tend to look to our badgers and our hedgehogs for our heads up when it comes to the 2nd of February. So if you want to know if winter is on its way out, you will need to stake out either a badger set or a hedgehog nest at midday. It's said that if a badger or hedgehog sees their shadow, we will have winter for another 6 weeks. But if you miss your moment on the 2nd, there are plenty of other days throughout the year that you can try and predict what weather is coming. Most people have heard about the dire prediction of 40 days of bad weather if it rains on St. Swithin's Day on the 15th of July. But June and July are full of bad tidings. Take it, for example, the 8th of June, which I think is next week, St. Medard's Day. If on the 8th of June it rain, it foretells a wet harvest, men saying. However, the French and Czech Republic versions are much more prescriptive, with the men saying that it will be another 40-day rain shocker. Then on the 15th of June, St. Vitus gets gloomy with, if St. Vitus's Day be rainy weather, it will rain for 30 days together. Which, if it rains, it will mean these 30 days will butt up against St. Swithin's Day, so we could be in for a 70-day summer washout. There are also lots of weird random dates when it comes to the weather, especially in October, such as the 12th. If the wind blows from the west today, it means you can expect good weather in the future. On the 16th, if it remains fair, it means that spring next year is going to be dry. And on the 28th, you should always carry an umbrella because it's said that the 28th will always be raining. But my favourite bit of the ritual year weather law is that the number of fogs you count in August will be the number of snowfalls that you'll see in winter. Now, returning to May Day again. May Day is not just a day for avoiding witches and fairies, it's a great day for having sex, specifically on the penis of the Sir Nabas giant. This time of year is all about fertility and fecundity, and May Day has the reputation of being one of the most fertile days of the year. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this particular piece of landscape, the Cerne giant is a chalk figure positioned on a hill above Cerne Abbas in Dorset, under the protection of the National Trust. It stands about 180 foot tall and is thought to be dated no earlier than 700 AD and no later than the end of the 17th century, but it was probably chalked sometime in the Middle Ages. Now, nobody really knows why it was carved, but unsurprisingly, there is a lot of focus on the fact that the figure is naked with an enormous erect penis. And so, unsurprisingly, the tradition goes that if you're having trouble with conceiving, getting frisky on May Day around dawn on the giant's giant member will result in a bun in the oven. However, there are caveats. Firstly, the National Trust is all about preserving the landscape and the giant and won't take too kindly to people disturbing the chalk. And secondly, Morris dancers also like to welcome the dawn up there, so you might have company while you go at it. If you're interested in chalk figures in the landscape and not just for sex, there are plenty. But if you're available on a weekend in August, it's customary for the National Trust to hold an open day in order to scour the Uffington White Horse. The White Horse is in Oxfordshire, overlooking 6 counties, and is the oldest dated chalk figure in the British landscape, and it dates back to either the Bronze Age or the Iron Age. A yearly ritual cleaning or scouring of the horse is said to go back at least as far as the 16th century, and nowadays it's re-chalked every summer. Now, this is something that I actually did a couple of years ago with my friend Sarah, who may or may not be in the audience tonight, and I have to say it's absolutely brilliant fun. I have no idea how Sarah is still pristine, because I got absolutely covered in the chalk. It's so much fun, and I have no idea if that's a leg next to us. I'm not sure. It probably is a leg, but it was just the most amazing fun. When we went, it was really, really hot and quite windy and very dusty. But if you have any lingering frustrations, taking a mallet to a lump of chalk and pounding it into dust will certainly take care of things. But returning to rule 1, be prepared. You'll need a hat, sunscreen, a bottle of water, and some good walking shoes or boots to get you up the hill. However, the mallets are supplied. Now, if you don't want to travel or fornicate al fresco, foraging is a very easy and very lovely way to connect to the ritual year. This is something I absolutely love doing in lockdown. On my 1 walk a day, I would go past a nearby railway siding, and I would see what I could scrounge. And I managed nettles, lavender, catmint, honeysuckle, mallow, rosemary, and all sorts of things. But along with my earlier warning about not putting anything in or on your body without knowing exactly what it is and what it does, there is, of course, dates that you should be warned about when it comes to certain vegetation. One of the most well-known dates is Michaelmas on the 29th of September, after which you shouldn't eat blackberries, as today is the day it said St. Michael pushed the devil out of heaven onto a blackberry bush, and he took his revenge by pissing all over it, and thus cursing the fruit onwards from this date. Although note that in Scotland, the cut-off is actually the 25th of September, and in some places it's even earlier at the end of August, as it said that witches cursed them then. Now, I took this pick during lockdown when I went blackberry picking much earlier on the 16th of August. And not only did I stuff my face with blackberries, I used the leaves to make blackberry leaf tea. You should also mind the warning that after either the 1st, the 2nd, or the 3rd of May, depending where you are in the country, you should not pick nettles, as the devil will want them to make his shirts. I went nettle picking on the 2nd of May, as that's Sting Nettle Day in Sussex, where I live. I'd never prepared or eaten nettles before, but I was completely converted, as they taste amazing. I was genuinely quite shocked. But if you're going harvesting, don't repeat my rookie mistake. I thought that marigold washing up gloves would protect me, and they didn't. And I had really, really tingly hands for quite a long time. Whether or not you believe in diabolical intervention, it's still pretty good advice to avoid blackberries and nettles after these days, as, to be fair, both of them become past their prime and not as good as they should be. However, if you want to actively engage with the devil, you could go a-nutting. September has 3 nutting days, the 3rd, the 14th, and the 21st. And with the 14th and the 21st, these 2 are prefixed with the devils. This triple outing might have something to do with the calendar change when 3rd of September became one of the lost 11 days. This meant the 2nd of September was then followed by the 14th of September, which may have prompted people to go nutting on the 14th, thanks to the 3rd September temporarily disappearing and the tradition stuck. Or it could be that September is a great month to do some foraging for nuts. Should you decide to go down into the woods, it's said that the devil will have the same idea, so you'll need to look out for burnt cloven hoof prints and the smell of sulphur. There is also a saying that a good year for the nuts is a good year for babies, with nutting taking on a dual meaning. So you could always multitask while you're there, but I would advise just not with the devil. Going nutting, as in going to harvest nuts and nothing else, was another ritual year activity I was able to do in lockdown, thanks to having a wood relatively nearby. I thought I'd been in and out, but it turned into such a lovely walk that I spent much more time under the trees than I expected. Not a whiff of brimstone, though. And finally, rule 3, be careful what you wish for. Hang on. Sorry, need to take a sip of water then. There are all sorts of moments in the ritual year that are perfect for a bit of divination, be they the love variety or the death. If you're a maid wishing to know if you're about to get married or who you're going to get married to, it's almost as if the ritual year is made for you. Because if you don't like the outcome of one date, you won't have to wait long before another opportunity comes along. I say maid, as most of the books allude to these customs being practiced by unmarried women, but I reckon anybody can try them. However, if you're going to do a bit of love divination, you are going to have to put in the work. It's not just a case of saying, please, Saint such and such, show me my one true love. You are going to have to go through some hoops. Hoops such as mounting a stile or a 5-bar gate and appealing to the moon on the first new moon of the new year, sleeping with an onion stuck with pins underneath your pillow and appealing to St. Thomas on St. Thomas's Eve on the 20th of December, fasting for 24 hours, lying on your left side and appealing to St. Agnes at midnight on St. Agnes's Day on 21st of January, and making a paste of wormwood, thyme, marjoram, marigold, honey and vinegar by drying the herbs, grinding them, simmering them in the honey and vinegar, and then daubing yourself on your belly, chest and lips, and then lying down and appealing to St. Luke's 3 times on his day, which is the 18th of October. I'm pretty certain I got all the ratios wrong because my paste was more like a lump, and every time I tried to apply it, it just dropped off. The only good thing about it, I think, was because it smelled quite nice. In all of the above examples, once you've made your appeal to whatever or whoever you're appealing to, you then have to sleep on it, and in the night you will dream of your one true love. Now, I did all of these challenges except mounting the stile, and I also did many more throughout the year. And the only people I recognised in my dreams were Mark Hamill and Christian Guru Murthy, and that was after St. Luke's Eve and St. Luke's Day, respectively. You see, if you don't like your answer, you can swiftly get another one, except I did quite like both those answers, and they didn't come true. But if you don't trust your dreams, there are some more immediate methods to see your lover-to-be. So, for example, on St. Agnes's Eve, St. Mark's Eve, Midsummer's Eve, St. Faith's Eve, St. Faith's Day, and probably many more besides, baking a dumb cake. So a dumb cake is a basic cake or a flatbread that can be made of various ingredients ranging from flour, currants, and water to nail clippings, brick dust, and urine. Now, when you make it, you have to be completely silent. So you bake it, and then you break it into 3 parts. There are supposed to be 3 people making it. And then you eat a little bit of it, then stuff the rest under your pillow, and then you wait for midnight. At the first chime, you then have to walk backwards to bed and observe the wraith who is said to walk after you. No matter what or who you see, you can't utter a word or the charm is broken, and it's said that you will suffer dire consequences. There are substantial regional variations to this recipe and the invocation to the saint and the number of people baking. So if this is something that you want to have a go at, you're going to have to find the method that works best for you. On Midsummer's Eve, 23rd of June, you could go scattering hemp seeds. So you scatter hemp seed over your left shoulder while reciting, hemp seed I sow, hemp seed I grow, for my true love to come and mow. You have to do this 9 times before running away while looking backwards in the hope to see your true love mowing the hemp which is now miraculously sprouted. The running away is crucial, as it said the devil will cut off your legs with a scythe if you don't. Now, I baked a dumb cake on St. Mark's Eve. It was really fiddly. I did use edible ingredients, but it did taste disgusting. It was so salty, and I saw no wraiths at all. However, throwing the hemp seed, I did see a jogger, but he didn't have any kind of mowing equipment, and I've never seen him again. Or if I have, I've really not recognised him. Then there are the dates that can help you make a decision should you have more than one lover in mind. So days such as Crabapple Day, more commonly known as St Michael's Day or Michaelmas, which again is on the 29th of September. All you need to do is to work this out is you need to collect as many crab apples, which thankfully are in season, as you have lovers or crushes. Then you need to carve the initial of your lover or crush into each crab apple and then hide them away in a place where they won't be disturbed. So like in a corner of an attic or a secret cupboard. And then you have to leave them until Old Crabapple Day, which is the 10th of October. And when you return, you need to inspect each apple, and the initial that's held up the best will be the best prospect for love. I didn't do this one, as the tree I found, we couldn't be sure whether or not it was crab apples or just small unripe apples. Feel free to let me know if you can identify from this picture what they were. Another decision-making date is Nutcrack Night, aka Halloween. Nutcrack Night, unsurprisingly, got its name from cracking nuts, either by throwing them into a fire, balancing them on a grate, or cracking them in your teeth. This particular love divination I'm about to describe is the balancing them on the grate kind. Now, this only works if you have a decision to make between two people. You'll need 3 hazelnuts. Name 1 nut after each lover and 1 nut after yourself. Then balance the 3 nuts on the grate. Your named nut should go in the middle. Then you need to watch. You'll be able to tell if your lover feels the same way about you, as their nut will catch fire and burn brightly. However, if their nut jumps about or bursts, it's guaranteed that they're going to be unfaithful. But if both nuts are burning brightly, you'll need to see which nut burns with yours, as that is going to be the nut you're going to marry. Just as there are dates to reaffirm life continuing, the ritual year also has dates that are all about death, especially if you're a saint. Most of the saints' days, they're only saints because they had their heads cut off or other really revolting things happening to them. Anyhow, St Mark's Eve on the 24th of April, and to a lesser well-known extent is and to a lesser well-known extent, Midsummer's Eve on the 23rd of June are 2 such dates. Now, I've mentioned them before, St Mark's Eve for dumb cake divination and Midsummer's Eve for hemp seed divination, because much like as on Beltane on the 30th of April, these dates are when it's said that the resistance between worlds wears thin and therefore makes them good moments for all sorts of omens, divinations, prognostications, all that sort of thing. And porch watching is one such activity. Now, you might describe porch watching as the supernatural equivalent to curtain twitching when a hearse goes by. The idea is that you rock up to your local church, and at midnight you'll discover who is going to die within the next year by way of their ghost appearing, walking through the graveyard, and going into the church. However, there are rules. Some say that you have to arrive at 11 p.m. and stay until 1 a.m., while others say as long as you get there by midnight, you'll be okay. If you're doing this on Midsummer's Eve, you'll also need to fast before you go to the church, but unfortunately I don't know for how long, and you will need to be extra vigilant, because if you fall asleep at the church on Midsummer's Eve, it's said that you'll not be long for this world either. Now, here is an account of some porch watchers in 1634, recorded in Chambers' Book of Days. About midnight appears coming towards the church porch the minister of the place with a book in his hand, and after him one in a winding sheet, who they knew to resemble one of their neighbours. The church door immediately flies open, and through past the apparitions, and then the doors clap to again. Then they seem to hear a muttering as if it were a burial service, with a rattling of bones and a noise of earth as if filling up of a grave. Suddenly, a still silence. And immediately after, the apparition of the curate again, with another of their neighbours following in a winding sheet, and so a third, and so forth, and a fifth. Other sources even say that you'll be able to tell the manner of their death, as they'll be wearing any specific methods, they'll be bearing any specific methods like a rope or a gun, or they'll show wounds to suggest how they died. But there is yet another catch, as some say you'll only get to see these wraiths if it's your third year of watching. Now, another reason I chose 2020 to live by the rules of folklore was because it was a leap year, and so I got to experience the entire ritual year. In the old Julian calendar, instead of having the 29th of February every 4 years, they used to repeat the 28th instead. Some sources say also the 24th. Once the Gregorian calendar took over, this practice slowly was replaced until the 29th of February appeared whenever the year was divisible by 4, or if the century year was divisible by 400. The Scottish believe leap years to be unlucky, and the 29th to be the unluckiest within a leap year. And much like the other unlucky days that I was talking about earlier, it said that things like sowing seeds, going on a journey, and getting married probably should be avoided this day because of all the unluckiness. My last example of be careful what you wish for concerns the lady's privilege, or the tradition of women proposing to men on the 29th. It said that men had to say yes to their proposal or suffer consequences, i.e. buying their thwarted girlfriend a pair of new gloves on Easter Sunday, a silk gown, or coughing up 100 quid. However, there was another get-out clause for those who wished to remain a bachelor. The proposer had to flash a red petticoat while proposing, otherwise the compact was null and void. So there you go. If you want to survive the ritual year, just remember my 3 rules. Be prepared, be at one with nature, and be careful what you wish for. I'm going to finish now with 3 bonus tips. The first tip is folklore isn't written in stone. I mean, obviously some of it is written in stone, but putting that aside, you can do what you like. If there's a tradition that you want to try, but it's not the right day for you, or you don't have the equipment, like, if you want to try all sorts of things, but you don't quite have the equipment, like you're missing an ingredient or something, it's fine. You can fudge it. You can start a new tradition. You don't have to do what everybody else has done before you. Following the ritual year folklore, it gives you an excuse to try something new. I tried so many new things, and I found love for so many new things. So I forage now. I absolutely love foraging. I found that I really liked cooking bizarre ritual year foods. Cooking and eating bizarre ritual year foods. And it also reignited my love for things like crochet and embroidery. So yeah, it just gives you an excuse to try something new. And finally, it's fun. It's never boring. There is always something just around the corner that you can try. Yes, you'll never be bored. And yeah, it's really fun. So there you go. And just another plug for books before I finish. So Everyday Folklore was written on the back of doing the Everyday Law project, with a lot of personal observations with it. And I have a new book that's coming out in November called Household Law, and it looks into all the folklore that you find in the home. So it goes from the attic to the garden, with each chapter being a new room. And if you want to connect with me, Lily the Punk on most social media, and I have an occasional newsletter that you can sign up to at www.liza-frank.com. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Liza. That was such a good talk. I've learned so much. I think the devil making his shirts from nettles was my top favourite. For those of you who don't know, nettles actually a fantastic plant for making fabrics with. They've been using it since at least the Bronze Age. It's incredible. That's the first time I've heard of the devil stealing shirts, using nails for shirts. Sorry. I did wonder, I don't know if you've got an answer to this or not, Liza, whether that is part of kind of the subset of folklore around how people dressed and what those clothes were made out of. So I'm thinking of the Christmas Eve tradition in Iceland, where you have to have new clothes, otherwise the Yule cat will eat you, and it was just to fuel the clothing industry. Do you know why? Have you got any more thoughts for us on that one?
I think it was genuinely because if you look at nettles past the beginning of May, they're getting really, really stringy. So I think they're just they're not good for eating. So I think possibly they're better for making materials, but I'm not actually particularly sure.
The devil's just to blame on this one, yeah.
Yeah, you just blame the devil for most things. Yeah,
fabulous. We don't have any questions in the Q&A. If anybody who's still online would like to pop a question in the chat, we'd love to share it. So there's a slight delay, so it can take 20 seconds to come through. So in the meantime, Liza, I'm going to pick your brain for a bit, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Obviously, you've talked about a lot of traditions that you did as part of the Everyday Law project. Did you have a particular one that was a favourite or was a success? Have you got anything to share with us on that one?
Hang on, I'm just going to cough again. Hang on. Talking for an hour has done my throat in slightly. There was my favourite. Actually, I had two favourites. So the first was Great Gruel Thursday. So that's an alternative name for Maundy Thursday, which is the day before Good Friday. And there's a Hebridean tradition where at midnight a man would wade into the sea, and he would make a sacrifice of gruel and whiskey or ale or mead or something into the water, in the hopes of getting the sea gods on their side, so that they would have a fantastic seaweed harvest. I wasn't about to go into the sea at Brighton at midnight, so I went for a tiny paddle at about 8 a.m. on Great Gruel Thursday, and I did sacrifice some gruel, which I'd made earlier, which is absolutely disgusting, and I had a tiny little miniature bottle of whiskey that I put in, and you have to chant. So I did the chant, and it was very, very cold, but it was also beautiful and sunny, and it was just weird. It just felt really right. It was just like a really good thing to do. Yeah, so that I think that was my absolute favourite one, and that was deep in the lockdown because that was in April, and everybody was really scared, and there were hardly anybody on the beach, and everybody sort of kept very far away. So it felt like a proper moment, to just to savour. And then I think my second favourite one, I don't think you did. Did you do this one? The competitive mince pie eating competition?
I did, yeah. This was one I helped you out with, Liza, wasn't it?
So,
do you want to share with the room, Liza?
So I asked a lot of people if they would join me on for a competitive mince pie eating competition, which I think was at the beginning of December, and it was because Wookie Hold used to hold one every single year. And we all had to introduce our mince pies and what brand they were. And I think we were going to do, how many we could all eat in a minute. But I think we very, very quickly found out that competitive mince pie eating probably wasn't for any of us. And it was whoever could eat one mince pie the fastest. And I was eating a gluten-free one, which immediately fell apart as soon as I shoved it in my gob. So most of my mince pie went down my front. I can't remember who won that. Can you remember?
No, I can remember I had a Greg's mince pie and I wasn't a winner, I'm afraid. Just while we're talking about food, we've got a question from Claire Andrews who says, can we have an update on hot cross bun?
Well, the hot cross bun, so there is a tradition on Good Friday that if you bake a hot cross bun and hang it up in your kitchen, it'll stay pristine forever, and it'll also be imbued with magical properties, magical healing properties, so you can crumble a bit off and it will cure everything, and it will also ward against witches and fairies and all sorts of supernatural things. So I made one and I strung it up, but it is still there. But about 3 years ago, it went really mouldy. It was doing really well. It looked perfect, but it's just gone really disgustingly mouldy. So I can't touch it, and it's covered in cobwebs because I'm terrified of spiders. So it is there. It's just quite disgusting. I don't want to touch it.
Maybe not the best folk cure for anything, that one then, Liza. There is a pub in London somewhere, isn't there, that hangs lots and lots of hot cross buns from the ceiling. Do you know anything about that one, Liza?
I think I wanted to say that's somewhere on the Thames Path. I think it's on the south, near the South Bank or something. It's definitely by the river. And yeah, they do it every year, and they've got loads hanging down. But I've not been. I'd quite like to go though. I think.
Very fascinating.
Yeah.
We've had another question come in. This one's from Anonymous. This great talk. Have you seen the fun that happens in Germany on Walpurgisnacht?
I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen pictures and it looks great fun. So I'm not really up with Walpurgisnacht, but it is Beltane, so it's the 30th of April, and it's the sort of like the German version of witches going crazy. I think that's what it is. But it's definitely something that I would be very interested in going over and having a look at.
There's some fantastic German and Austrian traditions like Krampusnacht, when the Krampus comes out and punishes bad children as well, isn't there? And they all have these amazing processions as part of it. It's absolutely fantastic. Another question come in. This one's, so when I did this talk, Liza promised me sex and drugs and lobsters, and we've got any more fertility rites you can mention, which seems quite fitting. So
all right, so we've had nutting days and we've had giant penises. Let me come back to you on that one. I can't. I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but basically, May, you just go at it, and is May supposed to be really fertile, and that's why on a practical level, that's why we need rain in May, so that everything can grow, so that we have hay and things for the animals later in the year.
There are some trees and plants as well that are meant to be good for fertility rites. So the linden tree or the lime tree, it's meant to be sacred to the goddess Freya, who is obviously the goddess of childbirth and things like that. And it's said that if you underneath the linden tree, you've got a good chance of conceiving. So there's my little hot tip for you on that one.
Thank you very much.
Helda says there's a 45-year-old hot cross bun Pitt Rivers Museum. I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
And Kelda's also said thank you so much for the wonderful talk. That's really informative.
Thank you.
Quick question from me, so we've not got anything else come through yet. There's a lot of unlucky days, Liza. Are there any lucky days?
Oh, I knew someone was going to ask this, and I should have really just checked. And there are lots of lucky days, and for the life of me, I can't actually remember what any of them are. But I suppose if you have lucky days, then you don't need to prepare anything. Because you can just sort of sail on through. I think I think Egyptian days do have lucky days as well, but I just decided to concentrate on the bad rather than the good.
It does feel like, looking at your list of unlucky days, you do very well to have a good day at any point in the year, really. That's definitely the vibe I got from that one. Do we have any more questions coming from the audience? We have a fair few more minutes. Another question from me. I know you mentioned your top tips, but have you found any challenges when researching the ritual year, other than the fact that COVID hit and it was a challenge to get out and about, full stop? But what have your challenges been doing this research?
I think one of the challenges at some point, there's a meme of a man standing in front of a board going like this, and there's lots of pieces of paper behind him and strings going to every place. It's sometimes and he looks just really upset and overwhelmed. And sometimes trying to piece together what the folklore is really tricky. I mean, the bit about the nutting days, just trying to figure out which is the right way to do things. And then, am I supposed to do it this way? Am I supposed to do it that way? Is there a better source somewhere? Have I missed something? Should I have read that book? Is this book going to tell me more? Is this person who I've stopped in the street or know because they're a friend of my parents or something like that, are they going to tell me anything different? I had to really let go that there is a definitive answer when it comes to folklore. Because there just isn't. It is a mess because we're a mess. As human beings, we are a complete mess. Anybody that tells you different is trying to sell you something. So folklore, I don't even understand why I felt that folklore should have the answer. And it does. It has many, many, many answers. But that's the point. It has as many answers as there are human beings, because we all interpret the law differently and we all make the law differently. And so I had to, my biggest challenge was giving up any kind of idea of perfectionism or getting it right, because I was never going to get it right, because somebody would always come along and say, we don't do it that way. We do it this way. So I think, yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge, I think.
That's part of the wonderful nature of folklore, is it's completely uncontrollable, isn't it? And it's a fantastic thing to research. We've had another question come through. Why are you supposed to take Christmas decorations down by or before the 12th night? Do you know? A really interesting subject, by the way, and great talk.
Thank you. So now there is a thing about, let me just get my thoughts together. So you don't actually have to do it by 12th night. You can do it by Candlemas, which is the 2nd of February. So if you have missed your moment on 12th night, which is either the 5th or the 6th, so again, not perfect. There are lots of versions of which 12th night it should be. You don't have to worry, because you've actually got until the 2nd of February. But what is said to happen is that if you don't take it down, for every leaf and for every pine needle that is left, an imp or a goblin springs forth and just rampages all over your house, all over your belongings, and destroys everything. But there is another, you could also say that 12th night is the night where everything turns upside down. So the servant becomes the master becomes the servant. It's the end of this midwinter Christmas festival, and everybody needs to get back to normal. Everything has to, the hierarchies need to be maintained. People need to go back to work. So that starts on the 7th, St. Distaff's Day. That starts on the 7th, which is also the day that I started the project. So it could be that it was just another way of social control. So, I said about shared belief, societal expectation. It could be that something like that is just a way of going, this is the end. We need to start a new period of work or of life. So it was sort of like a full stop, really. So it could be anything. It could be goblins. It could be societal expectations, really.
Goblins is a more fun answer there, isn't it?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
We've probably got time for just a couple more questions if anyone wants to pop anything else in the chat. Liza, is there any folklore that you came across that you thought was actively dangerous to take part in other than cheese rolling? I'm thinking of so there's a piece of folklore that says if you drink a tea or a tincture made of ivy leaves, it's a good cure for a hangover. Don't recommend it if anyone's listening. It's really, really bad for you. Don't drink ivy tea. But is there anything like that you thought, actually, I want to do this but in a different way so that I don't get sick and die?
Well, anything to do with mistletoe, really, other than snogging under it. You shouldn't do anything with mistletoe because it's absolutely toxic. And there are lots of sorts of, but if you do this and if you do that, but just leave it alone. You can just do other things. I did want to try gravy wrestling. So there's I can't remember, it's in a car park. It's in a pub car park. I think it's August bank holiday. And you have to dress up. So there've been Gandalf, Where's Wally, all sorts of things. And I did want to go gravy wrestling, but before they changed the recipe, everyone used to get stung by wasps because of the gravy, which I think actually had real meat in it, and it just used to attract the wasp. And now they've changed it, so I think it's a vegan gravy, which probably would outrage the Daily Mail. So I'd quite like to do that, but I'm not sure I'd want to get covered in gravy. I think I like the idea of gravy wrestling, the idea of dressing up and getting into a paddling pool and just having a beano with someone. But I probably wouldn't do that. But I would probably observe, still probably dressed up in fancy dress though.
Sounds very similar to the Welsh National Bog Snorkeling Championships, where they dress up and go through the bogs with little snorkels. But there's sometimes dead sheep and things in there, so I don't think I quite fancy that one either. There's some great calendar customs out there, isn't there?
It really is.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, we've not got any more questions in the chat, Liza, so I think we will call it there if that's okay. But thank you so much. This has been an absolutely fantastic talk. There's so many positive comments coming through in the Q&A, so thank you so much for coming. For those of you on the chat, obviously go and buy Liza's books. That's a very important plug. But we do have the Uncommon People Folk Culture in Wessex exhibition on at the museum until the 6th of September. So you can find out all about different calendar customs, different traditions and beliefs. So please do come along. And we have 2 more online folklore talks coming for you. So I'm giving a talk on the folklore of ancient trees on the 2nd of July. And we've got a talk on the 4th of August on the materiality of secret keeping concealed objects in buildings by Miranda Spraggs. So keep an eye out for those, and we hope to see you again very soon. And thank you so much again, Liza.
You're very
Hope you'll have a
welcome.
lovely evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.